Language learning is an amazing journey of personal development, and it can take you amazing places. It can change your life literally. It can open up opportunities you would never dream of. And the beautiful thing is when you start, when you take that first step, you have no idea where it can take you.
This is the Actual Fluency Podcast, helping you become a better language learner by providing motivating weekly inspiration, as well as top tips and tricks from expert guests. And now, your host, Chris Broholm.
Can you give the listeners just a brief introduction to who you are, what you've been doing for the last time, as long as you want to go back to fit the story? That's your choice. And let's see where we go from there.
All right. Thanks for having me. My name is Alex Voloza. I'm 31. I come from Ukraine originally, and I've been learning languages for the past 20 years. That's a short version. I've been a real fan of languages since I was a kid. I grew up in post-Soviet Ukraine, and the reality was not really fun. So I started learning languages as a kid, as a teenager, and it turned out to be a great alternative to the world around me. And this is basically how it started. And what followed was that I became a student, became a language student, a translator, an interpreter. I moved to Germany when I was 21, and I've been living in Germany for the last years. And later on, I became a polyglot and a world traveler. So that's a bit longer version.
So take us back to those, like you say, you always had an interest for languages. How did that sort of manifest in the beginning?
Well, the start has been has not been that impressive. I actually had problems with English at school when I was 8-9 years old, and I got sick a lot and missed classes, and then I couldn't catch up with the group even. So my parents had to look for tutors for me so that I can, manage the school program. So at the beginning, it was pretty modest. And then I think I was 11 when my parents got a tutor for me who changed my life. I can put it like this. It was a really charismatic guy. He was a young university professor, 26 years of age. And he totally changed my view on languages. He just showed me how amazing languages can be. It was extremely hard. He gave me homework that he gave to his university students, and I was just an 11-year-old kid.
Right.
But it was so much fun that I got hooked. And that pretty much was a game changer,
Wow. Talk about a fateful encounter.
That's exactly what it was. And it was not that this guy actually taught me the language. I guess it was more that he opened the doors for me, right? He showed me that language learning can be fun and that it's doable. And I think when we stopped working with him, I was 12. So my level was probably maybe B1 tops. But, it's not important. It was important that he just showed me the way. And what happened later was just a journey, of discovery and self-discovery. But he just showed me the way. I think that's what happened.
Right. That's really interesting. So more like a language coach really than a teacher.
I think he was even a life coach, because he talked to me, I was really 11 years old, and he talked to me like he would be talking to a grown up. And he told me things like, if you want to succeed in this world, you have to be, as he told me in Russian, you have to be 2 heads higher than all the rest, then people would notice you. And nobody has ever talked to me like this, you know, how do grown-ups talk to kids? Like they would talk to kids. So this person was really important to me.
Yeah, I understand that. So take us up a few years. You were bitten by the bug back then at 11. So how did you move up towards like where you are today? How did you develop it further?
It's been a long way. So what happened was I would start preparing for language competitions at school and the Lyceum of Foreign Languages, where I studied, and everybody went to sleep at my place at nights, and I would write essays and look up entries in my first computer dictionary, and it turned into a habit. I just over those years as a teenager, I learned how to spend time with languages by myself, and I sort of learned to see the fun part of it, because obviously if you don't like it, you would never spend so much time with language. So
right.
that helped me a lot later in life, because when I was 16, I ended up winning the all-Ukrainian competition in English, and that allowed me to choose any university in the country to go to without having to pay for studies. So that was the whole big life-changing moment that happened in my life thanks to languages. And I chose to go study German, because by that point my English was pretty fluent, and just wanted to do something new, something else. And German was my second language, and it was extremely bad. My German, I mean. So I said, now that I've been learning German for 9 years at school, I need to get it to a decent level. So I took up German translation interpreting, and I spent the following 5 years doing a bachelor and then a master in translation interpreting in German language.
Wow, that's a lot of time for such a focused study. So I guess you were pretty good by the end.
Yeah, I think what I learned before, with my first foreign language with English, that definitely helped a lot with German, because it was basically the same skill. I think I never liked German as much as I liked English, but I could apply the things that I learned and use the confidence that I got learning English, So I think it's extremely important to have that feeling, that small success. And if you did it once, what worked once with English, even when it got really hard with German, I had that feeling, well, if it worked one time, if I try a bit harder or stick with it a bit longer, it can work with another language too. And this is what definitely helped.
That's really cool. So is that like a fundamental philosophy, or is it more like a structural tactic? Like when you say you use the same, you did the same. Does that mean you were kind of doing the same?
These were the times. These were the times before personal development. It was just a feeling, when it got hard. I told myself, well, it worked with English. Why don't you apply the same things to learn in German? And then it was sort of self-discovery. So what did I do with English? I spent time with it. I was doing fun things. And then I discovered the Library of Goethe Institute, the institute that promotes German language learning. And I remember I was 20 years old. I used to go there, go to the library and find some CDs, some German music to listen to. And I visited the book market and looked for German books, because these were the times when we still had no internet. So we were still limited in materials. So I tried to get as many materials as I could and try. To do my best, if it was too hard, I had to put it aside. So I had to look for something that would match my level. But, I kept trying, and over time, of course, over the years, it got better.
Yeah, of course. And I'm sure we'll get back to the persistence trait in a moment. But so to just set a little bit of backstory, we've been chatting a couple of times over the last month or so, and we always seem to end up on the same kind of topics. So, True. Of course, we're going to get into that today. And I don't know, what would you call like if you had to put a theme to the conversations we had recently, what would you put as like the overarching theme?
I would say that language learning is, first of all, it's a journey, and I see it as a journey of self-discovery. You can achieve so much through language learning. You can find out more about yourself. And as you keep learning about yourself, you develop your unique style of language learning, how you personally do it, what works for you, what doesn't. And that's basically the same thing with other things in life. And of course, language, as you learn languages, so many new opportunities open up for you in life. And it's definitely part of your life journey, and you never know where it's going to take you. So I find it a very interesting aspect.
Yeah. I would say something similar. I would say I've said this more than once on the podcast before, but I often feel like what makes a good language learner is really just what makes somebody good at life, in a way. How cheesy that sounds. Like, if you have success in one area of life, you can usually use the philosophies or the approach to generate similar results. Like, we often talk how similar things like weight loss and language learning are. It's you use the same principles over and over again. But
Absolutely.
I think you could kind of extend that to pretty much anything, like careers, relationships, even. It's all the same in a way. And to be honest, that's something I discovered after I got into language learning. I got in kind of late into the party, so to speak. I was lucky to get 3 languages for free when I grew up. Oops, just dropped something. But I didn't really do a lot of like conscious independent study because I didn't have that person, that you had, that university professor to kind of guide you and show you what was possible. And nobody ever did that for me. They did show me like that language learning could be fun in a classroom setting, but I never met anyone or was introduced to anyone to spark the idea that I could actually do it on my own until a couple of years ago. So that's why this story is a little different. But what I've realized is it's the metaphor for life is language learning is really the same thing. Like, when we talk about doing well in language learning, you could literally take that and apply it to everything. So that's what I really like.
And you can do it all the way around. If you already succeeded in something else in life, you can use that experience and project it onto language learning and apply the same tactics. So it only takes a change in your attitude to get this idea that it's all the same, that it's all intertwined, interconnected. And then you can apply it, of course, to your own benefit. And we were saying that language learning is a skill. So what applies to other skills also applies to language learning.
Yes.
Like start slow, take baby steps, maintain a long-term perspective,
patience.
Exactly. Treat it as a marathon and not as a sprint.
Yeah.
Do not compare yourself to others. Run your own race. All those things that apply to whatever, public speaking, blogging, sport, weight loss, anything, career.
Yeah. So why is it still so hard?
Why is it so hard?
Yeah, like if the answer to doing well at anything is the same as doing well in something, why is it still so hard?
I'd say because it's simple but not easy, right? That's how you say it.
I like that one. Yeah.
The rules are very simple, but the application differs, right? But I would say it definitely helps to realize this. The awareness of it is hugely important because most people do not think about it like this, maybe. But once you know it, it's the first step. And you can, of course, read a lot of blogs on how to succeed in learning new skills and acquiring new habits, new routines. And you start applying that knowledge, and then it works. Like Start slow, have accountability, have somebody who would hold you accountable. And, if you have a problem, have somebody to talk about it, be it your teacher, your coach, or other people who are learning the same language. All of those things work. You just need to be aware of them and, create that system, that unique system of language learning that would work for you, and apply it long enough. And then undoubtedly see the results.
It's a long game for sure. Like, I'm sure if you put in a lot of hard work, you can get really far in, say, languages that aren't too dissimilar from your own. But if it's any kind of challenge, or you have any kind of, job or family or whatever obligations, it is really a long-term game. And if you don't treat it as such, it can really backfire, I feel like, because I got really demotivated early on.
True.
Because it's just, I expected so much more. I guess I was also a little bit naive based on the kind of materials I'd seen online. They were a little bit essentially, sensational, in the sense that they would only, post something if they were really great, like, how to lose, 20 kilos in 2 months, or maybe less time. I don't know.
Yes, or how to be fluent in 3 months, right?
Yeah,
or even less. Or even less. You could say,
not to give a little jab to Mr. Lewis, but and I think that reading his blog was both a huge blessing for me, but also a huge disadvantage, because it gave me inspiration and kind of the push I needed to pursue something really awesome. So that's amazing. But it also gave me incredibly false hopes and delusions about what was possible. I mean, or not what was possible, what was possible for me.
I also have a story concerning being fluent in 3 months and Benelux blog. And I also had the same results. It was really, really motivated when I found it. And it has also been a game changer for me. I only started getting into polyglottery, and I had this idea, what do I want to do with my life, right? I want to go for something big. And then I had an idea, okay, I've been learning languages. I have pretty good knowledge of German, English. So what is next? And I thought, maybe I could learn 10 languages. And this could be a lifelong project. I would invest years and years. I would work for it like crazy. And then I would get there. And, I was so excited that I started Googling polyglottery and people who speak many languages. And this is how I found Benelux blog. Mm-hmm. And I started reading. It was fluent in 3 months. And I thought, oh my God, that's amazing. And maybe I would not even need a whole life to do it. So anyways, I decided to experiment, and I had a Czech mission. So I set myself a goal to learn Czech from scratch to B2 in 100 days. It was all totally inspired by Benelux. So you know what? I did pass the B2 exam after 100 days.
Oh, wow. That's really great job.
So yes, good job for me, but also thank you very much to Benelux, because he was the inspiration behind it. I've been working like crazy for 8 hours a day. I would just,
Yeah, that's what Benny says. So that makes sense.
So I did it. I was working. I was listening to Czech materials when I was in the office at work during breaks. I was talking to myself all day. I woke up listening to Czech news. And so it's not false. I really, after 100 days of this Herculean effort, I was fluent enough to pass B2. Well, I spoke Russian, Ukrainian, and Polish by that time, so it's just another Slavic language. So I'm not saying so it was not Chinese in 3 months. Or
No. Still,
definitely not. So
that was
like
me learning, I don't know, Spanish. Well, yeah, Spanish or something, French maybe.
Maybe Dutch.
Oh yeah, Dutch as well. Yeah, they're so similar, those languages.
Yes, but still it's a lot of work, of course. So so that was the amazing thing. The bad thing was that after 3 months, after those 100 days, I stopped learning Czech, and I forgot it as quickly as I learned it.
Yeah.
That's the whole truth, and I think it's important to say that, to share this idea, that maybe you can do those wonders with your target language and get really far.
Yeah.
90 days, 100 days. But it's not enough to...
Right. But there's also something slightly, I don't know what to call it, but there's something weird about spending, let's say, 8 hours a day learning a language for 3 months. And then as soon as you've learned it, you're just done. You say, okay, I'm done learning Czech now. And then you forget about it for forever. And then it's like, well, what was the point really in the beginning then?
I wanted to prove myself that it's possible, and it did.
Right, but
that was a personal experiment.
Right.
Yeah, so we started from the thought that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. I just wanted to tell this story as proof that...
Well, I'm just saying that it's an interesting kind of topic anyway, because I think, well, I've definitely been a victim of it, that you kind of get into this, maybe you read Benny's blog or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'm going to learn 10 languages. But my parents are like completely, they don't have any mixed, heritage or anything. You don't have dual language parents or anything. You're just sitting at home. Like for me, my family, as far as I could trace it back, are purely Danes. All Danish. My parents, they don't speak any other languages. I don't have any foreigners in the family at all. So for me, picking a language was actually pretty hard, which is a different kind of problem, I guess.
True. No, anyways, this example shows that those 90-day projects are amazing, but only as a start. Mm-hmm. You cannot learn a language forever in 3 months. Well, I cannot. There are a few people out there who maybe can, but most of the people realistically cannot. So it takes an effort a lot longer than 3 months, maybe at least a year, maybe 2 years of consistent effort.
Right.
And consistent effort over a longer period of time, like 1 or 2 years at least, it provides a better long-term results in any case.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I'm feeling that for sure. And it feels like that the more time, like we talked about that a little bit as well. The more time I spend on a language, the more confident I get in it on a sort of holistic view, the big picture things, not just small sentences or anything.
True. So your brain just needs that time. There are no shortcuts to that. And even if you can cram all of that, it's not long-term memory. And those neural connections, right, they're not strong enough.
Right.
And if you don't maintain them, by spending time with the language over several years, you make those neural connections stronger. And then the language is just there, and it will stay there for longer. So, just treat it as a marathon run.
All right. Mm-hmm. So what kind of, sorry, there's a little bit of an echo. I don't know if you can turn it down just a little bit.
Okay.
Hello? Yeah,
is
that's better. Okay. That's much better. Yeah, thanks. Well, I can still hear myself a little bit, but hope it doesn't come through too much.
Okay.
What was I saying? Oh, yeah. Motivation is interesting, I find. Or I guess I should say, what kind of problems do you face when you sort of at a motivational level, or maybe even further back than that, in language learning? What have you faced in the past, and are you still facing any kind of problems there?
I think motivation is a very individual and unique for every one of us. The reasons why we start learning language in the first place and what makes us continue. You cannot, they say you cannot fake passion, right? Mm-hmm. And nobody can tell you why you should be passionate about a thing. You create it in your own mind by yourself. So in my case, it was the idea of becoming a polyglot and becoming fluent in 10 languages. That was, my mission.
Right.
I devised it for myself. And it was my project. Nobody was controlling it, and nobody really cared a lot because I didn't share it a lot with people. But that kept me on fire for a really long time,
Yeah.
it was my idea that I kept in my head every day. I was waking up for several years, I would say, thinking about this mission because I really believed in it, and that determined the choices that I was making. So the choices of listening to the podcast on the way to work, back home from work, how I spent free time, everything. But it was my personal motivation. It was my personal mission. And of course, I do not suggest that all of us should attempt the same. Of course not. But I think every one of us should think of a reason why we're in it in the first place. And that should make sense for us.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, then it's very good. Another aspect is that it's we should know ourselves. We should discover how we learn and what type of a system we need to keep going. Because some of us are independent language learners or can become independent language learners, right?
Yeah.
So we can maintain that motivation by ourselves because our reason is big enough. But I know some people, they need that accountability system. They need somebody to give them homework. They need somebody to control them. They need to be in a group setting to see other people who would be doing the same thing, working on the same skill. So for these people, of course, if you know that about yourself, do not, do what works for you. So if a group setting works for you, then of course, if it is possible for you, go and take part in a language course or sign up for, language school or go to university.
Right.
This will keep your...
Could be tough sometimes though. Like, for instance, progress can be a little bit tough to track.
You mean if you work alone?
Well, I just mean like if you just started learning foreign languages.
True.
And you don't know what your strengths are. You try a couple of things, but nothing really sticks. What do you know what to do then?
Exactly. So right now we're in the 21st century with all those amazing videos, YouTube videos, blogs, where other people share what they're going through. I think that helps a lot. And not only watching videos of people who already speak 20 languages, but also finding somebody who's also a beginner and sharing the experience, or finding a good teacher. Why not? I've had so many teachers before I started learning languages by myself. This is totally normal that you would want guidance when you are a beginner. So,
of course.
So why not get this guidance? But I think you can do those two things at the same time. Learn at a language course, for example, with a teacher, and for example, watch videos of Steve Kaufman, because those things really changed the way I look at language learning. And that made me believe that it is doable, that you can actually do it by yourself and succeed, because I was watching those videos and I had so many aha moments. And I thought, wow, I've subconsciously been doing many of those things by myself, so they really work. And I got the confidence to listen more, to read more, to spend time with the language more, and of course I got the results. So
he really likes input, Steve, and generally just patience, I think, are two of his key mantras, if you will.
Absolutely, yes.
Kind of like the anti-Benny in a way.
And he's learning so fast now. At his age, he's learning faster than 95% of people a lot younger than him. So it just really shows us that it's a skill, and you can develop it over many, many years and keep getting better at learning languages, at learning new languages.
Yeah,
I think he's been learning for so many decades that his brain works differently now,
Oh, for sure.
Exactly. So I think anybody who's a beginner, well, as a beginner, you cannot function this efficiently, probably. But over time, if you keep doing those things, your memory gets better. You get better at pronouncing things, mimicking the pronunciation, and you get better at communication, and to get better at all those small aspects, and you become a lot more efficient language learner, and you also learn to have more fun. So it's everything a process.
Yeah, and fun is important, isn't it? I mean, not just in a way of like a blanket statement, but to put in so many hours. I mean, the estimates are what, 1,500 hours to reach higher levels. Just by a random source, the Foreign Service Institute of America. Could take longer, probably will, but that's a lot of time if you think about it. I did the math on my German studies once. Had it for 8 years in school, and I calculated that I only have had about 300 classroom hours.
It's a journey that can possibly last forever. Look, I can tell you, I'm working as a teacher, as a language trainer for English and German now. And I'm learning things in German every day. Every day I'm learning new things after 10 years in Germany and 2 master degrees. And it's just endless as long as you have fun doing it. So fun is an integral part, of course, because you would never be able to spend that much time if you didn't like it, if it didn't connect with you at a certain level. So I think that's one of the main things we need to do when we're starting, find something about the language, about the culture, about the people who speak the language that fascinates you. And it can help you big time. And if you don't find it automatically, I would probably spend time, thinking about it and looking for those things, because it can really determine whether you will succeed or give up.
Yeah.
And I mean culture, food, music, people you admire who speak the language, or nice people who speak the language you could, make a tandem with, or just anything, basically anything that, evokes positive feelings, and then connect those feelings with the language and turn it into more fun.
Right. And that's a very active process, you say.
Say it again?
That's a very active process.
That's an active process, totally, because you will have challenges and you will have hard days anyway. So it really helps. And I know this because so many people come to Germany now and they need to learn German language, and people struggle, for example, because they do not connect with the culture, with the people. So this is and those people who do, those people who manage to find, friends to talk to spend time with in Germany, those people succeed faster. So I would say find people who you like. Find people who you like and spend time with them and speak the language, no matter, if you make mistakes or not. Totally make mistakes, but find the fun people, find the fun activities proactively. Yes, go and look for them and change your attitude, because you can always see the glass half full or half empty. And this is the same thing with what is going on in your language learning. You can see the things that do not work.
Yeah.
And there will always be things that do not work. But shift your attitude to what works, shift to things that you like, activities you like, just celebrate small successes, and always look back and, look back at where you were a week ago, a month ago, half a year ago. And then you can definitely see the big picture. You can see that you're moving forward all the time.
It's actually crazy powerful. I use that example quite a lot, actually, because it's hard to explain just how powerful it is. For instance, my Russian, as I often talk about these days because I'm working on it. If you told me 5 years ago when I hadn't started it that I'd be able to read Russian articles, watch Russian clips, and follow a conversation, I would just be like, "What are you smoking?" How's that ever going to happen? And suddenly, after quote unquote failing for 4 years at Russian, I suddenly am at that point. So it's hard to explain or describe exactly how fascinating that feeling is.
Very true. And I thought of another thing yet again. You're running your own race, right? It's your own personal journey. Never compare yourself to the people on YouTube, right? The people who are fluent in 20 languages. Do not do that, because it is your journey. It is your race, and you're working, you're learning at your own speed, and your own speed of learning is fast enough. So it's not about the guy who does it 3 times faster and you compare yourself to him and you feel frustrated. It's not about this. And then the question is, what if he can do it in 1 year and I can only do it in 3 years? Does this mean I should not even start?
Yeah.
Of course not. Well, it depends on what your reasons are. If you want to prove, if you're only doing it to prove to that guy that you're as fast as he is, then probably you shouldn't even start. But it's not the reason why you're starting, right?
No.
You're doing it for fun. You're doing it to be able to explore a new culture, to make new friends, to understand the world better. Everybody has their own reasons. So it really does not matter how much time it will take you to get there. It is about the rewards that you can reap along the way too, because the journey is probably as rewarding as the outcome, right?
Right. The journey is the reward, as you might say.
Exactly.
I agree with that a lot.
But you also need to learn to see it that way, right? If you're only interested in the outcome, when am I going to be fluent? When am I going to be fluent? And look at your watch, every hour. I remember when I was a kid, I started working out. I was very, very slim. I had 0 muscles. And I remember we started working out with dumbbells. And I would go to the mirror every 30 minutes and look at me like, those muscles, are they growing yet? And I find it's a good method for language learning. To not go look at yourself in the mirror every day.
Yeah, but it's so tough, isn't it? Because if you don't see the progress, it's easy to get demotivated unless you have a really good attitude or a really good mental state. Takes a lot of practice, I think. What
helped me was when I got access to the internet and I watched videos of Steve Kaufman, for example, and other guys, because in the pre-internet age, you were alone in your, troubles, perceived troubles.
Yeah.
But now you can connect to the experience and wisdom of the whole universe, and you see everybody's struggling, everybody goes through the same things, and everybody has those self-defeating feelings once in a while. You know, everybody at their own level. And if a guy, for example, learns 2 times faster than you do, he also feels defeated a lot. Because those feelings of I cannot do it, I'm not making progress, we all have those feelings. So it's not even a matter of how fast you progress, it's a matter of your attitude and how you see yourself, your own progress, and your capabilities, Right. You can definitely work on that also consciously. You can practice that skill of shifting your attitude to how you're doing. And you can really develop that and have a lot more fun.
Right. It's so tough, isn't it? To deprogram yourself in a way, but it is very important. It really is.
It's probably as rewarding as learning the language. It's
right.
A process. It's another skill, and it can also take years. but it's extremely rewarding. And if you learn to do it, you can also apply it to anything in your life, right? Changing your attitude to anything, to whatever is happening in your life.
We talked about affirmations earlier, about how, for instance, if you keep saying that you are not going to learn French or you can't learn a language, that will become your reality.
Absolutely. Everything.
That is really tough, like, especially for me, because like I'm a chronic, I don't know what to call it, like self-deprecating person. Because I feel like if I don't know how to explain it, but if I present myself as terrible and I'm average, then I feel like I've overachieved. You know, I've done really well, and everyone is like, "Wow, you're not as terrible as you said." But that's not really the best way to do it, is it?
Well, I think you can take baby steps in this too, right? Like in learning languages, you take baby steps in shifting your attitude to how good you are or how good you can be. I've seen many people learning languages with varying, aptitude. And I remember one girl, we did a master course together in Germany. She also comes from Ukraine. And she was really not very good. And it was a master degree in translation. So she was supposed to be extremely fluent in German by that time, because she's been learning it for 10 years by then. And she was making awful mistakes. And then it turned out that we got to work together in the same German office. So I could watch her development and I could watch how her German improved over the years. And I thought she would never be fluent. And as the years passed, she got better and better. And then I came to the office once and I thought she was talking like a German native speaker, And that example showed to me that anybody can really, given the time perspective, given the time you spend with the language, speaking the language, listening to the language, staying in touch with the language, you can get extremely good no matter how slow you seem to be of a learner, really. So now I say definitely anybody can.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think there's no reason not to believe that, because it doesn't have a downside. If you believe you can do anything, okay, within reason, I'm not going to be an astronaut or anything, but if you believe you can do anything or almost anything, then what's there to lose?
Absolutely.
That's just, I think that's the best. But what things do you think, like we talked a lot about attitude, what other ways do you think people set themselves up for failure in language learning? Are there any other things people do consistently that you feel like is either objectively terrible or sort of sabotaging their own progress?
It's both thoughts and actions. I really enjoyed Lydia Machova's diagram that consisted of 4 parts to successful language learning, or to what successful language learners do and others don't. And those 4 pieces of the system were fun, frequency, quantity, and system. And frequency and quantity were the crucial ones, I think. So people who do not progress, they just do not spend time with the language. It's as easy as that.
That is quite simple, yeah.
That's simple, but not easy, right?
Right.
For some
it's easy
people,
to fix.
It seems easy to fix, but most people do not fix it, although they know it, because maybe they do not believe in themselves, as you were saying. Maybe they engage in self-sabotaging behavior.
Yeah.
But then again, the solution to this is know yourself, know how you function, know how you learn. If you don't have the willpower, if you cannot make yourself study or learn the language by yourself, if you cannot, build those routines of spending time with the language daily, watching videos, reading blogs, whatever, then go and sign up for a course. If you need a teacher to give you homework and that this is how you learn, then totally do it.
Right.
And
do you think there's also an element of maybe not lack of motivation necessarily, but maybe there's an underlying fear or procrastination that can sometimes rule us? Like, for instance, I know that I should be doing more tutoring lessons because, first of all, they're quite fun and they're quite helpful and they're very available. I could book a Spanish tutoring lesson now, like 5 minutes from now. So there are really no excuses for me not doing any more lessons, but there's some kind of block, some kind of mental block. I mean, it's not because I want to use myself as an example all the time, but I feel like that is something that people struggle with. This kind of, I guess it's a confidence thing. It's like using the language that you know, even though you know you're terrible, or at least you're beginner or something. Like when you've studied it a couple of months or maybe even a year, and you finally get to meet that speaker of the language, but you completely freeze up. Like what kind of underlying psychological problems are at play there?
That there could be many,
Have you ever had something like that where you were like scared or like procrastinated on doing something that you actually found funny and productive and helpful?
Yes, of course. And it really can be anything. And I think what could help is talking to a coach, for example, that helped me, talking to another person, or having somebody who could listen to you, or maybe writing a journal. All those things help understand what is going on in your head.
Right.
And just break the vicious cycle, right?
Yeah. I guess that one good one step is to realize that I'm not alone, because you just said that you also suffered from it sometimes. So that is very helpful, for me at least. And I think that people listening to this will also find some comfort in the fact that if they are struggling with anything, it's definitely not because they're stupid or because they're special or anything. We all have these kind of ups and downs all the time. But again, that's not language learning. That's just life. Like some days you feel amazing and you feel like you could never be happier, and other days you like struggling to get out of bed.
This is also part of self-discovery that is so rewarding, because some things you would do better than others in language learning, probably, and some things would be your weaker links, right? And maybe you would be scared of things other people find totally normal. But this is not the reason to get those self-defeating thoughts. It's just a new thing you learn about yourself, and you just accept it and work with it. And wherever you are, you just realize, okay, I'm at this point. Right now, this is where I start, and work your way from there, taking baby steps. And you were talking about scary things in language learning, right?
Yeah.
Like meeting a person, a speaker of a language you've been learning, and then you cannot approach, right? Because of fear, you get paralyzed.
Yeah, exactly. Or you can't find any words in that language, even though you studied thousands of them.
Yes, I've had a lot of experience with that, because, when I started traveling, I traveled solo, so my experience relied on connecting with people and talking to people from all over the world all the time. And I started being scared because I'm an introvert 100%. I'm definitely, I haven't been comfortable in approaching unknown people, But over the years of the 2.5 years of traveling, and turned into one of the most communicative people you would find on my travels. I think Benny Luz talked about it too. He said the same thing, that when he started traveling, when he started learning languages, he was an introvert and he was scared out of his mind to approach a person and, strike up a conversation. So I think this goes to show that those things change over time. And you can come from somebody who's extremely scared by taking baby steps, and, getting out of the comfort zone bit by bit, of course. you can get so far that you can not even imagine.
So that's another point that's often mentioned, like the comfort zone.
Everybody uses those words, but this is definitely true. It is definitely true that this is how you get more flexible. You start slow, you accept where you are today, and not compare yourself with others who are successful. You don't compare yourself to experts, and because you do not know where they started. You do not know what they went through and how many years and how much effort it took them to get there.
You don't see everything.
Yes, exactly. So accept where you are, and then take a decision to stretch yourself a little bit, be it talking to a new person or speaking more, or maybe you want to start writing in a language and you're scared because you do not know how to, and then you can say, tomorrow I will write 50 words. You don't need to start with 1,000 words.
Right? Of course.
Or you can start with the 10-minute conversation. Because you just set your first goal that seems reasonably doable for you. That you would say, okay, this is scary, but I think I can handle it. Or this seems hard, but I think it's doable. I think I could make it. And then do it, and then first of all celebrate it, feel proud of yourself, and then you build it up from there. And then on the second day you can write maybe 70 words and not 50. Maybe you can talk for 20 minutes, for 15 minutes and not 10. And this is where everybody starts. And basically this is how it works.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm just thinking, just sitting here thinking like, it's deep. It's deep in a way that, again, it's not difficult to understand. It's just the ramifications that I find is kind of, what I mean. It's easy to explain, but it's not easy to apply, like we talked about before. Like you can do it step by step. But I feel like we live in such I guess social media and like the lower attention span and stuff has really polluted our brains to the point where this idea of somebody learning a language, at least if you follow this podcast or if you follow anyone on social media that also does languages, it's going to be impossible for you not to compare yourself maybe more than once a day to someone else or anyone really. So it's really a monumental effort, I feel like, to slow down your thoughts and say, okay, well, it's kind of a meditation practice, isn't it? Where you say, I accept the sort of noise in my head. I accept that there will be, disruptions to the lake. It's not going to be perfectly calm all the time. So you kind of accept them and let them pass in a way instead of noticing them. But of course, this is like anything else. It's also a practice. You get better at dealing with getting better, if that makes any sense.
It takes years. It's another skill that is extremely rewarding, applicable to pretty much anything in your life, and it's extremely hard. Just with any skill, especially when you start, but it's working, and you just maybe stop looking at Facebook pages of other people.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
turn off the TV. Stop watching ads. It's a gradual process. You get just happier, more grounded. And in the end, you get more successful, because if you terrorize yourself and if you torture yourself with those comparisons and thoughts, I should be at a different place, I should be more successful, I should be learning faster, and it doesn't help you. You don't get better because of these thoughts. You just get miserable.
Right.
So gradually you learn to switch those thoughts to more productive thoughts, maybe.
Do you, not that you have to give any sort of straight recommendation, but how do people fit those sort of, I don't know if I want to call it meditation. It definitely is similar kind of process, but how do people fit in like active, I guess what I mean, when you say you need to switch your thoughts, we talked about that a lot today. Do you like sit down and like try to create some kind of, not quiet maybe, but very calm environment where you can reflect on your achievements and your dreams in language learning? Or is it just like trying to tie it in with all your thoughts in general? Like, do you do specific timeouts? Should people do that?
Whatever works, right?
Right.
Definitely it helps to spend some time by yourself. Well, there are introverts, there are extroverts. I'm an introvert, so I definitely need a lot of time for reflecting and spending time alone and turning off the noise and all the distractions and just...
is there a risk of doing too much of the good thing? Like, can you overthink your language learning so much that you just think about it and not actually do anything?
I don't know. I'm just not saying that. I'm not talking about language learning only. I'm talking about anything in life. No, you shouldn't overthink language learning. You should enjoy language learning and spend time with the language. But it's generally we're talking about the practice of mindfulness.
Yes, exactly.
Whatever works, it's also something you can develop over years, and that would probably not work very well in the first months. But you just catch yourself thinking negatively about anything happening in your life. You just learn to catch yourself in the middle of the process of thinking negatively, and then you say, "Oh, here I go again." That's fun.
Yeah, and awareness is also a word you've used a lot, and something that I've noticed it's really important, and it is really a long process. Like I remember, this is going a long way back. When I was 18, I didn't really want a normal job, so I thought I was going to be a professional poker player, which sort of happened later, but that's a side story. But so I was trying to win at the games, and the game theory itself was pretty simple. Like you could read a 100-page book and you'd basically have a winning strategy, because people were terrible at poker back then. But the problem was when you're also playing against yourself. So, it's a game of chance to a certain extent, but there's also obviously a huge player advantage that can be had. But if you start to get upset about how the cards fall, like basically random series of incidents, then it affects you. It clouds your judgment. Like emotions are really bad in a game like that, because you just need objective logic and reasoning. You need math basically, and you need to just evaluate all the situations. So I had problems with that, controlling my emotions, maybe due to a sort of a troubled teenage period. But I picked up a book called like The Mental Game of Poker or something like that. Didn't really have any poker strategy in it, but was just basically all about how to calm the inner lake. I don't know where that saying comes from, but that's basically, and that's where I started doing it. And it's taken me, 10 years, over 10 years now, to even remotely have any improvements in that area. Well, not improvements, but it's taken me so long to understand what it really means. Like for me now, it means like, okay, if I'm walking home with my umbrella and it starts raining, there's no point in getting upset about it, because I can't change it and I can only do better in the future. So getting upset about it now doesn't make any sense. Same with traffic jams or all that stuff. But me, 18 years old, would definitely say that. And I think the relation to language learning is similar. It's like getting upset about not knowing, I don't know, the gerund in Russian, which is just impossible, doesn't do me any good. It's like, oh, I made another mistake. No, that doesn't really do me any good, but looking at the progress that I made does. So it's such a long process, and it's really exciting that way. And now I'm trying to apply it. Just to give another example, I just started this new job, which is in a call center. So it's kind of a, some people will call it, entry level kind of slave jobs where people are in and out every month. And I know there are lots of people out there who probably like a job like that, so I'm not dissing it. But, it's minimum wage, and it's, people scream at you over the phone. And I can say like, okay, this guy is screaming at me because I made a mistake or because it's my fault or because I should have done something. Or you can say, okay, the guy is angry because his holiday's been inconvenienced for some reason. You know, if you have 20 calls in a row, it's really easy to get emotionally affected. And also the job itself. Like some of my colleagues are like, I hate my job. I can't wait for the weekend. I try to turn it around and say like, how much can I enjoy Monday morning? Because if I can enjoy Monday morning, every other day is just going to be amazing. You know what I mean?
It's always your choice. You're very right. You have that extreme power inside of your head, in your mind, right?
Yeah.
You just need to learn to apply it, and then it changes everything what is happening. And this is very true. As you were saying, it takes years and maybe 10 years.
Yeah, it's taken ages for me to even get close, because I would do the same. I would like I can't wait to be time off. Like, you know, even as an employee, I would be okay for maybe the first period of time, but then I would kind of stagnate because maybe it's because I had terrible management or whatever. But the way I see it now is like, I can either do amazing at work or I can do average at work, but I'm going to be there anyways. I might as well do my best. You know, I don't lose anything by doing a better job. On the contrary, you know, it might get me promoted faster, it might get me bonuses, it might get, you know, people might notice what I'm doing. So the same is true with language learning, isn't it?
I have an example concerning language learning. What helped me was yet another video of Steve Kaufman that I watched many years ago, where he was explaining how the brain works when we're learning languages, about those neural connections. And he was explaining that it takes time for those neural connections to be created and then to get stronger and thicker. So it's a process that is happening in your brain.
Yeah.
And it takes time. So there is no need to feel frustrated about it, because you're probably doing your best anyways, right? If you're spending time with the language, well, if you're not, maybe there is for improvement, definitely. But if you already are spending a lot of time with the language and those grammar structures do not sit yet, or if you're still forgetting those words, there is no need to be frustrated. It's not about you even, right? There are processes that are happening naturally in your brain with the speed, with the fastest speed available.
Yeah.
So when I realized this, I just took it so much easier. You know, I stopped worrying that much, and that negativity dissolved. You know, I just said, I have my own speed of learning. These are processes that are happening. You know, my job is to just continue to spend time with language and have as much fun as possible doing that. And the rest of things will take care of themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like having faith in the system, but that goes back to what we were starting about.
Yes.
You know, the belief, like if you believe that you can do it, then it's not a matter of can I or will I, it's just how, you know, how will I make this happen?
You're very right. Yes, belief in the system. So I realized it's not about my lack of willpower, you know. I was trying to force the knowledge inside my head. This explanation, it rang a bell to me so much, it connected so well, that just, you know, here's the system, it's laid out for you and it works. Just spend time with the language long enough, have fun. As I'm an independent language learner, right? It's my responsibility to find materials that are enjoyable for me, right?
Yeah.
This is what I can influence. I can influence not doing things that are boring. If something gets boring, just find a new blog, find a new video, find a new TV series. This is what I can influence, right?
Yeah.
This is what I'm in charge of, and have fun, right? Do not let yourself get demotivated or frustrated. If the book is too hard, I'm not trying to force that book into me, right? There are enough other books that match my level today. Or if it's a book about something I do not care about, I would not force it into myself, because we're in the 21st century with the internet.
Yeah.
Just find another book, find another thing, and keep yourself motivated. And and the system is working.
Positive.
Trust it, and the system will do what it should, and it does.
Yeah, it's like if you buy like an essay meal or teach yourself. I mean, there's obviously people who have used it to great success. So the system works. You just have to use it if you like it, and if you don't like it, find something else.
Absolutely. As we were saying, what Steve tells you to do, or what Benny tells you to do, it's good, but test it, if it works for you, if it's fun.
Yeah.
And those SML books, they're very different. There was an SML book that I liked and I enjoyed, and there was another one that
there's some different series. There's like the old ones from the 70s or something, and then they made like new versions in the last 10 years or so, and some are reprints as well. So even within that, and you know, with the Teach Yourself a Colloquial series, they might have a sort of a pattern. So if you like one of them, you're likely to like the others, but there's no guarantee. And the same goes for Michel Thomas. Like, okay, Michel Thomas did the original series, but then they hired new people for the newer languages, like Russian, for instance. And a lot of people like the Russian version. Then they say the Arabic one is not so good. So, it's all about trial and error, I feel like. And to me, the best method is the one that I just do without any pain. In a way, it's a strong word, but if I can just open an app or something and I enjoy doing it, that's a good app for me. It's not about if it's the fastest app or it's the best app or objectively or the flashiest app. If I can do it a lot and it has any sort of basis in language learning, then that is my favorite app. The one I can do the most. If that's watching movies for you, that's probably also valuable.
I think there is so much to take from that we're all unique. We have our own background, our own experience, our own hobbies, our own values. And this will all influence our language learning style. So as you spend more and more time learning languages, you find out more about how you do it,
Yeah.
You develop your own unique language learning style that would be totally unique and it would work for you,
Yeah.
And this is amazing because you can really learn so much about yourself as you're learning languages. Just, you just need to keep experimenting, right? See what works, what doesn't,
exactly.
and be attentive and just, it doesn't feel good. I'm bored today. And like, why? What is happening? And then you discover a new thing about yourself, that this thing doesn't work for you. Or this teacher, or maybe everybody says this is a great teacher and he has, perfect references and everybody respects him, but you just it doesn't feel good for you. And okay, cool. I discovered a new thing for myself. I would not stick to that teacher or to that course just because everybody thinks it's cool. It's not cool for me. So it's really amazing.
Yeah. And I mean, I could keep on going with this topic forever, but I feel like we've come around, or at least my brain is completely like just mulling it over what we've been talking about the last hour or so. So just wanted to wind down a little bit and just say, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. It's been a while in the works. We've been talking about it for a while, but as we've talked about, the good things come for the patient. So I'm really happy about that. I wondered if there's anything you feel like we haven't quite touched on, or anything you wanted to bring up here at the last minute.
No, I think we've talked about a lot of things. Thank you for inviting me. And just to sum it up once again, for me, my attitude to language learning, like my goals, the way I see it has definitely been changing over the years. And right now I see language learning as an amazing journey of personal development, and it can take you amazing places. It can change your life literally. It can
for sure
open up opportunities you would never dream of. And the beautiful thing is when you start, when you take that first step, you have no idea where it can take you. So keep going.
It's wonderful, isn't it?
keep having fun and see what miraculous things might happen out of it. So just but to have those things happen, you just need to take that first step, and then another step, and just keep taking those little steps, and and magic will probably happen.
Yeah, in the beginning of the recording, I asked you like what was the topic of, or the theme of our previous chats in the last few weeks. I think for this one, for me, just a bit of reflection is really how to have the right, maybe not mindset necessarily, but how to have the right attitude and mental approach to pretty much anything. Like how valuable it is to be positive, how valuable it is to really not compare yourself to others, to be patient, to just basically match your expectations with what is possible for you and what you're doing, and enjoy the process. That's basically it for me.
Well, because this is true. It's not just simple talk. When I think about the past years, I owe pretty much everything to languages. I moved countries. I got another passport. I learned 8 languages by now. I visited so many countries on different continents. The best of my friends, the best conversations, the most unique experiences. All of this happened in my life thanks to learning languages. But I would have never dreamt about it. I had no idea that it would, evolve this way. When somebody told me when I was just that kid, in provincial post-Soviet Ukraine many years ago, I would laugh at him, So you never know. So just keep going, keep enjoying the journey, and get amazed at where it can take you.
Yeah, and even of course that's possible. And for me, my life has also changed dramatically because of my going into language learning. But even the small things I find really matter, like being able to say hi if you have I don't know, if your barista is from Hungary or something, being able to say hi to them in their language, bringing a little smile to somebody else's day. Those small things add up. Or maybe you have a grandmother that's German and you never really learned it, and you learn to speak a few sentences with her. Even those small things to me can become huge in your life.
Definitely. This is what it's all made up of, right? The small things.
The little things add up, as we've been talking about. But thank you so much, Alex. I really appreciate you coming on, and thank you for being a bit of a coach to me as well.
Chris, it's been a great pleasure. I'm really happy that we finally made it happen. It's been really nice talking to you.
Likewise. I hope your fears were vanquished about this recording.
Totally vanquished.
Great. All right. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Actual Fluency Podcast. If you would like to get more out of the podcast, check out the VIP Club by going to actualfluency.com/VIP.